Hello everyone, and welcome back to The Lost Planeswalker. You're here with me, Jesse, the Lost Planeswalker, and today we're going to look at another Marvel Secret Lair Commander deck with Captain America First Avenger. This is a super cool card, so let's dive right in and see how you can build around Captain America with his throw and catch mechanic. So Captain America First Avenger is of course red, white, and blue, and it is a legendary human soldier hero. The first ability, like I alluded to, is Throw for 3 generic. Unattach an equipment from Captain America. He deals damage equal to the equipment's mana value divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 targets. So the way it bounces around the walls, basically, is a really fun throw theme. Then, of course, he always catches it. So at the beginning of combat on your turn, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to Captain America. There's a lot of cool ways we can build around this, and he certainly brings some really fun and flavorful mechanics to Magic the Gathering. So this deck obviously is going to be built around equipment and all the amazing benefits from throwing them at creatures and using catch to re-equip the largest equipment to him for free. Secondly, we're going to look over some creatures and spells that will not only help us, but will make our gameplay even stronger with equipment and, damage and all that good stuff. And lastly, we have some good stuff that I'm just going to cover briefly because the main parts of the deck I think are way more important. But before diving into those equipment, let's look at some other cards printed in this Secret Lair that I think would be great to add to this deck.
So let's start out by looking at those new Secret Lair cards, and these aren't new, but they're new reprints, so I think they're worth talking about. Earth's Mightiest Emblem, which is just Arcane Signet, is a special card you can get for spending a ton of money, so, if you're interested in that, doing this as thematic as possible, maybe look at that. But we have Flawless Maneuver, In the Trenches, Captain America's Aid, which is Sigarda's Aid, Soul Ring, and then Shield of War and Peace, which is Sword of War and Peace. Some really neat reprints. The Soul Ring comes from the Iron Man Secret Lair, but, it's a staple card in any commander deck, so it's a really fun add here. But let's start out by looking at the equipment that you're going to be playing this deck. And of course, we're going to look at those large equipment that we can throw with Captain America. We have Argentum Armor, Excalibur, Sword of Eden, and Cauldron Complete. There are a lot of large mana value equipment, but I think that these ones are quite fun. Argentum Armor here is 6 artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +6/+6, so it also buffs up our creature quite a bit. And whenever equipped creature attacks, destroy target permanent. This does also cost a lot to equip, so we're going to be very happy with catch, but destroying any permanent we want is pretty sick. Excalibur, Sword of Eden is 12 generic mana, meaning we're going to be able to deal a ton of damage with this when we throw it, but it's a legendary artifact equipment. With this spell costs X to cast, where X is the total mana value of historic permanents you control. We're certainly going to have a bunch of those. It has equipped creature gets +10/+0 and has vigilance, and it also equips to a legendary creature for 2 mana. So this is one we're probably going to want to equip ourselves because it's quite cheap, gives a huge buff, gives us vigilance, and we're going to be able to throw that baby for a ton of damage. And then Cauldron Complete, 7 generic legendary artifact equipment with living weapon, meaning when this enters, it'll enter with a germ token, so it's kind of already a creature there. It's got indestructible. Equipped creature gets +5/+5. Has first strike, trample, indestructible, haste, and whenever the creature deals combat damage to a creature, exile that creature. Equips for 7 mana. A lot on this card. It's very powerful. It's going to be really great for our commander. Throwing it's going to be great, and I think that this is a definitely great 3 cards to add. But talking about giving us some large power, we already have some of those, but some other ones are Blackblade Reforged, Caduceus, Staff of Hermes, and Colossal Hammer. Blackblade Reforged is a staple card, very cheap, but it's very powerful, making it give equipped creature +1/+1 for each land you control, and we can equip it to a legendary creature for only 3, so it's quite cheap. If we want to equip it to a non-legendary, it's going to cost 7, which is going to be pretty, bad, but that's okay. Caduceus, Staff of Hermes, 2 in a white legendary artifact equipment. I think I butchered that name, and I apologize there. But equipped creature has lifelink, which is going to be pretty nice with Captain here. As long as you have 30 or more life, which we start with 30 or more life in Commander, equipped creature gets +5/+5 and has indestructible and prevent all damage that would be dealt to this creature. What a great card to add to this deck. It's going to buff us a bunch, give us lifelink, and then prevent all damage dealt to our commander. And then Colossal Hammer, single mana to cast, but 8 to equip, but it gives the equipped creature +10/+10, and it loses flying. So we have the downside of loses flying. It's not really that great to throw, but it's definitely something that costs a lot to equip, so we want to catch this and put this on our commander for free. Some other really cool, unique equipment that is super fun to play. We have Embercleave, Hammer of Nazan, and Helm of the Host. Embercleave here 4 red legendary artifact equipment with flash. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature you control. Now we do have some other creatures, but we're probably not going to get that heavy a discount on cast here. But when it enters the battlefield, you can attach it to a creature you control, and equipped creature gets +1/+1, has double strike and trample. This is a game ender, giving double strike, while we're also giving our creatures +10/+10 is just disgusting, but that trample just takes it over the top. Hammer of Nazan, 4 generic ledger artifact equipment. When it or another equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you can attach to a target creature you control. An equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has indestructible. It's going to help equip things for free. It's going to give our creature indestructible while also buffing it. It's a staple card to play, and it's around $10, which makes a lot of sense. But then we have Helm of the Host, 4 generic legendary artifact equipment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a token that's a copy of equipped creature, except it's a token. It isn't legendary if equipped creature is legendary, and that token gains haste. So we can immediately just start moving some equipment onto this second captive Captain America, and then throwing it and doing all kinds of shenanigans. It's a staple card because what's better than 1 commander? 2 commanders. Yeah, Helm of the Host is a pretty great card. Some other great ways to search for some of those really powerful equipment in our deck, we have Forge Anew, Open the Armory, and Steel Shaper's Gift. Now, Forge Anew is 2 and a white enchantment. This doesn't necessarily search our deck, but it searches our graveyard, which some of our equipment will probably end up in. But when it enters the battlefield, return target equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. As long as it's your turn, you may activate equip abilities anytime you could cast an instant. And you may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost for the first equipment ability you activate during each of your turns. What a great way to move equipment on for free and get our best pieces back out of our bin. But Open the Armory is 1 and a white sorcery. Search your library for an aura or equipment, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Another great way to get whatever equipment we need right into our hand. And then Steel Shaper's Gift, probably one of the best white equipment cards out there. Search your library for equipment, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Very cheap, very powerful, and we love it. So some other great equipment to include in this deck is Basilisk Collar, Bitterthorn, Nissa's Animus, Dispatch, Inventory Management, Luxodon Warhammer, Mithril Coat, Shadow Spear, Swiftfoot Boots, Sword of Feast and Famine, Sword of Forge and Frontier, Sword of the Animist, Sword of Vengeance, the Reaver Cleaver, and Thought Vessel.
Now, before we see those creatures that are going to give us value using our equipment, I would just like to say thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. And if you really want to support me in another way, check out my Patreon. I'd really appreciate it. But now, let's look at those creatures that are going to help maximize our value.
Now looking at some of those great creatures and spells that are really going to buff up our equipment deck, we're going to looking at equipping for free. Because we can already do that, but if we're casting multiple equipment per turn, or we have to recast, or who knows what, it's always nice being able to equip stuff for free. We have Brunar Battlehammer, Pure Steel Paladin, and Stone Hewer Giant. Brunar Battlehammer, 2 red and white ledger creature dwarf warrior with each creature control gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it. Then you may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost for the first equip ability you activate each turn. Having a bunch of these on the battlefield might not actually be as powerful because that first equip is going to count for all of these. So, so cards like Forge Anew and Brunar kind of cancel each other out, but having that density in the deck is also really nice. Pure Steel Paladin, one of the most staple cards out there. White creature, Human Knight. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under control, you may draw a card. And then Metalcraft. Equipment you control has equip 0 for as long as you control 3 or more artifacts, which equipment notably are. Then Stone Hewer Giant, a really neat card that I think deserves a lot of attention here, but 3 white creature giant warrior with vigilance, 1 and a white, tap, search your library for an equipment card, put it onto the battlefield, and then attach it to a creature you control, then shuffle your library. So just get whatever you need out of your library, put it on. There's no sort of, sorcery tax on this. You can cast it and do it whenever. You could activate an instant. So this could be during combat, this could end games. It's very, very good. Talking about some other creatures that give us some big benefit, we have Dalakos, Crafter of Wonder, Riav, Master Smith, and Willith, Soul of Steel. So Dalakos, Crafter of Wonder, is 1 blue and a red legendary creature merfolk artificer with tap, add 2 generic, spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. Great way to help us cast even more of our equipment. And then equipped creatures you control have flying haste. Giving Captain flying is a really great evasion piece. Now, of course, cards like Colossal Hammer may take that away, but we can always throw that off, deal some damage, and go and do it again. Rayav Master Smith is a red and white legendary creature dwarf artificer with whenever a creature you control that's enchanted or equipped attacks, that creature gains double strike until end of turn. Captain here is just going to gain double strike, and for 2 mana, I mean, this is like an instant that just gives double strike. It's so good. If you're playing an equipment deck, you kind of have to play Rayav because just giving double strike is so powerful. And then Willith, Soul of Steel, 1 red and a white legendary creature human warrior with trample, and whenever Willith Soul of Steel attacks, draw a card for each aura and equipment attached to it. There are not as many great draw effects in these colors. White's definitely gotten better, but we're really not playing that kind of effect. So this is going to gain us a ton of card draw and just lets us have another big creature. We can equip a ton of scary stuff too. So looking at some powerful spells that are really going to put a punch, we have Chandra's Ignition, Unleash Fury, and Waltz of Rage. Chandra's Ignition, 3 red sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each other creature and each opponent. This is a great way, especially if we just have Captain on the board, to deal a ton of damage and take down all of our opponents for a ton. You know, this is a great way just to clear boards and then be able to swing right through afterwards, so it's pretty powerful. Unleash Fury is 1 in a red instant that pairs very nicely with Chandra's Ignition that says double the power of target creature until end of turn, or this is just a great way at instant speed to end the game. And then Waltz of Rage, 3 red sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each other creature. Until end of turn, whenever a creature you control dies, exile the top card of your library. You may play it until the end of your next turn. This is also a great way if we have a ton of creatures of our own on the board to gain some additional benefit off of it. And last but not least, we have creatures that give us some big benefit, letting us cast stuff for free, letting us draw some cards. We have Narset Enlightened Master, Polywog Prodigy, and Scram Senior Edificer. Narset Enlightened Master, 3 blue, red, white, legendary creature human monk with first strike and hexproof, and whenever Narset Enlightened Master attacks, exile up to 4 cards from your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may cast non-creature spells from among them without paying their mana cost. Notably, we have a ton of non-creature spells in this deck, including enchantments, instants, and sorceries, so this is a great way to be able to cast that on top of all of our equipment. Polywog Prodigy is 1 in a blue creature frog wizard with evolve, but whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell with mana value less than Polywog Prodigy's power, draw a card. Notably here, we have a lot of ways to equip big equipment for free, making it so we're gonna get a ton of power not having to evolve this, but just by putting a big equipment on it. And then Scram Senior Edificer, 1 in a white. Legendary creature, Dwarf Advisor. Whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle, draw a card. Obviously, we have a couple auras in the deck, but plenty of equip cards to draw us a ton. The other great creatures and support cards we have here are Aqueous Form, Codsworth, Handy Helper, Ghostly Prison, Halvar, God of the Battle, Lizard Blades, Propaganda, Single Combat, Take the Bait, and Whirlwind of Thoughts. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to mention any of the good stuff cards like I did the rest of this deck, but I'll read them off here with Blacksmith's Talent, Boros Charm, Boros Signet, Commander's Fear, Counterspell, Dovin's Veto, Enter the Enigma, Path to Exile, Ponder, and Thoughtcast. If you'd like to check out the land base, I have that built here. It is a little pricey at around $150, but if you already own some of these cards, it could be a lot cheaper to get, but that's it.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Captain America Commander deck, and you were inspired by the cards I added, and you'll pick some of those up and put them in your own deck. Comment down below on what you think of my deck strategy, and what cards you would like to add or cut from this deck. I would love to hear about it. In addition, if you would please leave a like, share this video with a friend, and subscribe, that would mean the world to me, so thank you, thank you, thank you. Now today's Scryfall card of the day is Repel. Your deed cannot be undone. You, however, can be. Augusto Azorius Imperator. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you later, Planeswalkers.